All right, I know you're sitting behind your computer and going, I wonder what the weight of a Kubota KX080-4 excavator is. And that's why you're watching this video. Everything you need to know about a Kubota excavator. All right, so I've used a variety of different excavators, different sizes, different capacities, and different lengths. And I got to use this one quite a bit this summer. This is actually the neighbor's, and we thought that we would do a review on this after being in the seat for it for quite a while. So this is a KX080-4 Kubota. It's a 2016 model. It's a Tier 4 emissions system on it. We're gonna show you guys how to do a full service on it, what to look for, and what's involved in this little machine. This machine is absolutely a perfect size for what we need it to do. It's got all the power that it needs for its size. It's a 66 horsepower, 5-cylinder diesel Kubota engine. The hydraulics are a perfect fit for this machine. Hands down, there really is not much wrong with this machine. Kubota did a great job putting this thing together. The only thing I found when I was running it and the side window was open was that the electric fan kept turning on and off every 30 seconds or 10 seconds. It was enough that it was starting to get irritating, but that's it. Close the window, turn the air conditioning on, turn the radio on, and that issue is solved. You can actually fix the problem by turning the radio on. Other than that, it's really easy to work on. Top speed in high gear is 3 miles an hour, 3.1, and I think low speed is 1.7 miles per hour, something like that. A couple things when you're greasing it, don't forget to grease this slide. This is a guard for the lift cylinder. I was driving my wife nuts because I was running it and just squeaking, and I just greased it. I'm like, where is that squeak coming from? That was this thing. So greasing the machine is pretty self-explanatory. I should be greasing the boom every day. And then the rest of them are every 50 hours or so, but can't put too much grease in these things. If you hear any squeaking, grease it. The cab is super nice and easy, your typical excavator cab. Running the machine inside with the doors closed was actually just about as loud as being right outside the machine, which was about 80 decibels. That is the safe decibels for before needing hearing protection, but hearing protection is still recommended if you got little plugs or whatever. Controls are super easy to figure out. They're just like every other excavator. It's got the boom swing on it as well, which is underneath this pedal. And then you just run left and right with your foot. This one is also set up for an iDig system, meaning that there is sensors on the bucket, the boom, and the lift, and that's a little GPS thing in here. What that allows you to do is run it perfectly level. There's a little sight glass in front of you here that tells you whether you're digging low or high, and that is actually a universal thing for excavators where you don't have to get out of the cab or have somebody with a meter stick. We got this one from Ontario Agra. I put that on, but that one has since gone back because it was a rental. This one's got rubber tracks, nice and quiet, and also has the blade on it. Again, I would not hesitate to recommend anybody, if you're looking for a good medium-sized excavator, this is the one you want. For your service, it does make more sense to have the blade at the front of the machine underneath the boom, just because then it's easier to get at the oil. It's just that's the way it was brought into the shop to do the service, and I won't ever do that again. The engine's at the back here. Again, 5-cylinder, 66 horsepower. Air conditioning, the radiator and the AC condenser, oil coolers, all nice and easy to get at right there. And then there's a nice little lever right here that you flip over. That allows you to get at your hydraulic tank, hydraulic filter, your pre-filter for your fuel, and then your auxiliaries. Nice and easy to get at, nice and easy to diagnose. If something's not working, the valve stack is right here. Now the pain is when this one's leaking, you do have to take the whole thing apart, but this one's got 2,100 hours on it, and honestly, this one is running flawlessly. This one, it must be very well maintained because it's nice and tight, it's quick response, and handles just beautiful. All right, so this boom does swing on the machine without having to swing the whole machine. That allows you to get nice and close to basements and then get in really tight spots. To the right, it's got a 60-degree swing. To the left, it's got a 70-degree swing. And then if you swing the whole machine, it's got a 4.8-foot swing radius, meaning that on the widest point, the tail is 4.8 feet past the tracks. Keeping that in mind, if you're in a super tight space, you can still hit stuff with the ass. So this would be comparable to like a 75G John Deere excavator, mid-size. John Deere is about 56 horsepower, this one's 62, and they both have a 15-foot digging depth. Now I can't verify that because I'm not gonna dig that giant of a hole in my lawn anywhere. I will probably install some fence posts into the pond and then mount my dock. We're getting close to winter time, so I'm gonna push these stakes into the ground and then wait for the water to freeze. Then I can walk out and I can mount my dock rather than having a floating dock. Okay, so if you, when you do drive it in, make sure that the blade is at the front. Otherwise you need to use a piece of cardboard so you can drain the oil beside the blade. But at the same time, it's not bad for a little nap. And when somebody says, why are you laying there? It's obviously you're holding the cardboard. So just give me another 5 minutes. All right, this is pre-filter and just needs to be cleaned once in a while. There's a good indication of water in your fuel too. You'll see the line down at the bottom. This is a drain for that water, but it doesn't look like there's any water in it, but just a lot of crap in there, and you get that generally from jerry cans. So being a rental, more than likely that's what's happened. We'll clean this and then change the fuel filter. Okay, so this is the hydraulic oil filter. It's got nice tabs on the top that you can grab to spin it off. Before you take it off, you want to take your fill cap off the tank and a little bleed screw just on the top of the filter housing. I thought because it's at the top of the tank, meaning that all the oil getting returned to the tank gets filtered, you wouldn't get oil coming out of here, but it's under pressure. So as soon as you crack it loose, you end up spilling a bunch of oil all over the floor. So don't be like me, do it proper and vent it. There's also a drain on the bottom of the filter if you want to drain the oil into a can. And I probably should have done that too. Then it would have just sprayed all over the floor anyway. But we're going to change that filter. We're going to top up the oil. You want the oil in this sight glass here, right here, to be in the red when your blade is on the ground and your boom is in that position. If you don't, then you might have too much oil in the system. When you go to retract, you'll fill up the whole tank and then have a big giant mess too. So. I'm a touch above, but that filter's empty. So I'm gonna put a touch more in there. And then it'll be right, it'll be perfect. This is your fuel filter, which is right on the back right of the engine. Take this little clip out of the holder and then unplug the sensor, which senses the water, and then spin it out. Then drain your fuel, take this and put it in the bottom of your new filter and spin it back on. Don't spin it all the way, where there might actually even be a little bleed there. Maybe this is a bleed. Where you can turn the key and it'll fill the filter up. You got to get rid of that air. As soon as you see a little bit of fuel coming out, then you're good to go and you can fire up the engine. There we go. So pretty neat. When the water comes in the bottom of the filter, it'll raise this up and then trigger something in the cab to tell you to shut her down. Do not ignore this sensor. If you've got water in the fuel, shut it down and take care of it, because that fuel system is very, very fussy and expensive. Doesn't seem like a really good idea, but I think that's just the vent. So we'll turn the key until you see fuel coming out of there and just say yes. Because this fuel filter is really hard to get at, so just take the two 12 millimeter mounting bolts out, Grab a pair of vice grips on there to keep the housing from spinning, and then you can get at the filter pretty easy. Don't drop it, full of fuel down below. Okay. Now with that filter housing up and out of the way, you can actually get at the engine oil filter, which is buried down in here too. See it? Okay, so you can get at the oil filter from underneath when you take the cover off. Who wants to bend over? If you can't get your pliers on it, you can grab some sandpaper or emery cloth and just grab that, and that gives you extra grip or torque to get that filter off. See if I can do that without the pliers, because it is kind of a tight spot. See, my left hand can do it. Being a righty. Yeah, look at that. Nice and easy. Little sandpaper trick. Generally, if your filter's straight up and down, it's a good practice to fill it up with oil around the outside of the filter, not the center, because that's where the filtered oil comes out of, with a clean source of oil, so a clean clean can of oil. Because this filter is sideways, you can't really fill it up. Usually means that it's at the end of the oil system, so all the oil goes through the engine first, and then the last of it goes through the filter, meaning that not all the oil gets filtered. Whatever runs out of your bearings and drips back into the pan is not filtered oil. A full system compared to a semi. And now we can put our fuel filter back on. All right, so the cabin air filter is underneath here. Little trap door. Now you can blow that out, or you can replace it. Probably a good idea. Stay up on it, blow it clean whenever you can, and then once a year. It's always a good idea to just lubricate your hinges a little bit. And then your rollers for your track. Okay, it does have an electric fuel pump, and it says that if you didn't bleed the filters the way I did, you can just let it run for about 2-3 minutes, and then it should fire up. If it doesn't, stop cranking. If it doesn't start in 10-15 cranks, then it's not going to start. But just leave the key on, the pump will start to purge it. It's a common rail, so it's not like the old school styles where if you had any air in there, it's not going to start. This is a little bit more forgiving, but filling your filters is still the best way. So let's see what happens. Hey. That's not so bad. Check for leaks. Rings at the bottom. That is not leaking, and I'm a little bit low on the oil now that it's filled up the filter. I gotta top that up a little bit. All right, this is your final drive. This is what actually moves the whole machine, and there's not as much oil in here as you think. You got three plugs, one plug at the bottom, and that will make these two plugs level. So you can drain your oil out the bottom and then fill it through one of the tops. You can fill it easier if you take both plugs out. That'll allow the air to get out. Yummy. So pretty. And it stinks so much. See the difference the extra plug makes? This oil does a lot of work, so you want to change that. This stuff, honestly, when you get it on your hands, it just reeks. So that's all the oil that came out of there, and you can see how little that is and how important it is to keep an eye on that level. So put that plug back in again. Never ever put a plug in without tightening it, even if it's going in storage or whatever. There's not much oil in there because there's a lot of gears in there. So this oil is super crucial. You want to pay attention to that because if it leaks, generally you don't even realize it because it's all caked in mud and that all the time. So just use some Hypoid 80 W90 and we're good to go.
There it goes. Wow, almost a liter. Just starting to run out now. See that first drip go down. She's full. Wow, like pretty well exactly a liter. The posts are in. We're gonna wait until the ground freezes and the water freezes. Then I can walk out and I can make it nice and level, and then mount the dock that we made a long time ago.
All right, hopefully that answers all your questions on the Kubota. Again, I really like this machine. I would not hesitate to buy it. If you see one in your area, this one's 4 years old, 2,000 hours on it, and honestly, it runs like it's a new machine. Again, maintenance has a huge thing to do with that, and that's why we make these videos, so you guys can see what's involved in the maintenance. If you guys have questions or recommendations, or you have a piece of equipment that you would like to see a review done if you're in the Niagara area, get a hold of us, and we'd love to do something like this similar for your equipment. Other than that, remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich, so get out there and work on it, enjoy it, have some fun with it. Here we go.